Let's talk about the different types of data that you're going to encounter in this class. So we can break it apart in a few different ways. We're going to talk about quantitative versus qualitative data, and then talk about time series versus cross-sectional, and then primary versus secondary data. So first, quantitative versus qualitative. Let's talk about quantitative data. So these are numerical values to describe something. It's probably what comes to mind first when you think of data and when you think of statistics. It's just a bunch of numbers. This could be the height of someone, age, distance, number of customers that a company has. These are all examples of quantitative data. Now, quantitative data can be split into two different subcategories. We have interval data and we have ratio data. So interval data means that there is a meaningful difference between each data point, but there's no true 0 point. So the example here are birth years. So if you were born, let's say in the year 2000, you are not half the age of someone born in the year 1000. The year that you're born tells us something in relation to other years, but we can't use the numbers themselves to tell the whole story, right? Because there's no true 0 point. So maybe what is an example of a 0 point? Well, that's where ratio data comes in. So once again, there's meaningful differences between each data point, but there is a true 0 point when we're dealing with ratio data. So this example is income. So now, if you make $50,000 a year, that is twice as much as someone who makes $25,000 a year. Right? We have that true 0 point, so that way we now can use these numbers to work off each other. Then we can talk about qualitative data. So these are words. These are descriptive terms that we can use to classify something of interest. So gender, hair color, education level. These are all examples of what qualitative data can be. You might have guessed we can split qualitative data into two subcategories as well. We have nominal data and ordinal data. So nominal data means that we cannot rank the data. So zip codes are a perfect example here. A couple zip codes around here, 85260 is a larger number than 85258. But just because it's a larger number doesn't mean that it is any better. These zip codes are an example of nominal data. Then we have ordinal data. Ordinal means that we can rank. So think of order, right? Order is allowed. So an example here, education level. A master's degree is more education than a bachelor's degree. So we can rank ordinal data. Now, let's talk about the difference between time series and cross-sectional data. So time series, it's there in the name, it's values that correspond to a specific measurement taken over a range of time periods. So an example here would be if we took the unemployment rates in a couple different states and we took that data from January 1st of the past 5 years and we compare it. Right? So we would have January 1st of 2017, January 1st of 2018, 2019, and we would have our different unemployment rates for each one. While cross-sectional data would be values collected from multiple subjects during a single time period. So this is if we took the unemployment rates from Arizona and California for just January 1st of 2022. So we just took it from one single time period rather than taking it from a range of time periods like time series data would require. Now, primary versus secondary. You may have run into primary versus secondary data in one of your other classes when learning about research. So primary means that it's collected by the person or the organization that eventually uses that data. So if I go out and collect a sample and then I use that data, that is primary data for me. Now, this can be collected by direct observation, focus groups, experiments, surveys, tons of different ways, right? But what's important here for primary is that it's collected by the same person or organization that eventually uses that data. Then we have secondary data. This is when it's collected by someone else. A big example of this is when the government collects information and then a bunch of other people and organizations and companies use that information. So for example, the US Department of Commerce will collect data and then everyone else is allowed to see and use that data. So that would be secondary data for them.